What's up, everyone? MK Tom Brady here. First thing I want to do in this video is apologize for my voice, but I'm a little sick, so my apologies. I really want to talk about and react to a tweet about the state of the current MK competitive community. And this is a tweet by Mr. Aqua, and I give him a lot of props, a lot of respect for this. I think the term shill gets thrown around a lot, and there are quite a few of them. People who ignore all the downside of things, ignore the state things really are, and just focus on the positives just because they just want to continue a financial gain off the game. And this really isn't the case for Mr. Aqua, especially after seeing this. He's done a lot for the community, and this really shows that he really cares about the people that make this community up. So I want to read this here and kind of weigh in on my thoughts on this. He says, thoughts on the current competitive MK community. COVID killed a lot. WB higher-ups killed, currently killing a lot. I just want to stop right there and focus on this line here. I feel like this era started in Injustice 2, but we just didn't notice it as much. See, Injustice 2 was easy to rush out, or, didn't feel quote unquote rushed because they just remade Injustice 1, watered some of those characters down, and added some new characters. So the base of the game was pretty much already developed. You really noticed it in MK11 when they were making new content. See, MK11 launched in a very incomplete state. It had a better level of polish than MK1, but the game was incomplete. You saw this, it had two variations when the game launched. And a lot of the times, one variation did everything you didn't even need variation to. It was a downgrade from MKX in the variation system, which was supposed to be the feature of the game. And then they eventually added variation 3s, kind of balanced all the variations a little bit, and then went on to do custom variations. Problem was COVID also hit, and they really were unable to complete the game. The variations that you wanted to customize, there was a big problem. Some of the most devastating moves in the game required almost no resources to slot, while some of the most worthless moves in the game required a ton of resources to slot. You didn't even want to try to experiment with them because you just couldn't fit much into your character's build, your character's customized build. They were unable to rework what some of the moves did, reallocate resource slotting points for between one skill and another. Because COVID, they just weren't able to do anything. And the game was only in that state because obviously it was rushed out because Warner Brothers, the higher-ups, so on and so forth. When you combine the effect COVID had on the tournament scene, as well as the effect the game getting stale had on the tournament scene, while every other game was getting overhauls, Tekken 7, Street Fighter, Dragon Ball Fighters, every game was getting overhauls, and here was just MK, stuck the way it was. The tournament scene, while there were online events, there were no more offlines. And even in the online events, a lot of the tier 1 players, outside of a select few, really stopped entering them altogether. And the tournament scene just stopped growing. It just stayed stagnant. Sure, there were players still entering, and tournaments were still being held, but the scene was not growing. The scene came to a halt, and gradually over time began to dwindle. This is why we were hoping Mortal Kombat 1 would change a lot of that. And unfortunately, this game was severely rushed. I don't really know when they're going to finish this game, but Street Fighter 6, for example, being launched in an extremely polished state didn't do this game any favors. And I'm sure Tekken 8 gets to see a lot of the downfalls of MK1. And if they ever had any doubt, well, we'll go back and do this. They see what happened in MK1. I'm pretty sure that game will launch with a much higher level of polish than this one. So Aquaman goes on to say, and every day I see the community killing itself with bitching and lack of actual focus or purpose. And I am guilty of this. So really, I just felt like, hey, like any other game, there's enough outcry for something. Developers are going to get right on it. But here's the real truth. Do I think the people at NetherRealm care? I do. Do I think the people at Warner Brothers do? I do not. We are all dollar signs to them. Nothing more. And NRS is pretty much handcuffed because they have bosses. It's called WB Games. So really, to keep this outcry going, thinking, oh, something's going to change because of it, it's probably not. Because the real truth is, one, they never seem to be able to change levels of polish because of public outcry. What's frustrating to me is they will make changes to or make certain adjustments to characters based on people's outcry and crying, but they won't actually polish the game because of it, which is the most frustrating thing, because the game being polished and being launched in the complete state should take precedent over anything else, but it doesn't. But the real truth is, you need to get back to building the community, because this public outcry is not going to change anything with NRS, and maybe because it can't. They can't change it. They're handcuffed by WB and the higher-ups. And Mortal Kombat 11 did a lot of damage to our scene, and this game has done nothing to repair it. So the only thing left to do is, a lot of us who are considered community leaders, content creators, it's really up to us to try to build that scene up. And NRS is not doing us any favors right now, but hopefully they will. And all right, goes on to say, I can see in most people's gameplay and content that most of you don't enjoy playing. There is a lack of expression and fun. There is such a staleness to everyone's copy-paste play from what they see a few folks doing. Top players definitely do more, but I don't know how we can achieve that. Money talks to them, and that's about it these days. We need their full support and a whole ass community years ago. So basically what he's saying is, years ago with MK, even before the money, we built this scene with no money at all, based on support from the best players in the world who helped build the community, and that whole community rose us up. And we had bigger numbers than a lot of other games. We showed up strong, and we were kind of together in all this. It's kind of every man for himself right now, because at the end of the day, like Aquaman goes on to say, it's about money. Money talks. Then he says it's probably going to take them, as in the top players, going broke to realize it, but the content creation will keep them solo focused and fed. He said that's part of it too. I'm guilty of it, but I'll try my best. And before I get into the next part, I want to focus on this here. So he's saying he basically notices there's no joy in playing. People are pretty much playing cut and pasting, and their sole reason to get better at the game is to compete in the events to win money. Not so much to express themselves individually, not to try something new, but just cut and paste what's going on. Let me enter a tournament, get some results, get a quick, maybe I'll get some money out of it. That seems to be what the community is driven by. Finances, and not really passion or love anymore. I mean, NRS has not helped this. There was a tweets by Sonic Fox and Dragon, for example, and many agree with this. Like, maybe Cyrex was nerfed too early. Could have allowed for a lot more expression in the game. More characters could have tried to use him in different ways, although he pretty much did everything in one. And Dragon's point was, had they really steroid buffed all the cameos, then maybe you wouldn't see Cyrex all the time. But it just seems like they are really cautious in some areas and let everything fly in others. And another reason why things seem to be stale is the game is way too simplistic. Some of the simplest things are easy to do, and it achieves maximum reward. Raiden, anything in a storm cell. into Kano or Goro. Kung Lao, what is he going to do? Armored launcher with Goro. What else does he have? He doesn't have anything but armored launcher. Some of the character choice, some of the character designs are baffling to me how simple they are. How can you possibly innovate when a character is so hard locked into one way to play? Then you have other characters who have a little bit of freedom because NRS made them complete. And then other characters, well, let's kind of, let's be a little safe on some of these characters. It's kind of crazy how safe they are with certain cameos and certain characters, how simplistic they are with certain characters and cameos, and then how over the top they are with others. And I don't know when they're going to come back to really kind of give the players back that freedom. Hopefully they complete this game soon. Just the level of polish it needs as well. All this really needs to be achieved, All right, where was I here? Okay, this is another good... Oh, by the way, speaking of the money, the thing about money, by the way, is there was a time when there was a lot of money in it. And players began to play for that instead of passion. And the reason to play became like, hey, you could win some money. You could win money. Be a real pro, win some money. The problem is money without the community building becomes very self-serving, and you develop a self-serving community. Now you can mask this by pointing to, but look at all the money that's in. What do you mean we're going the wrong direction? But as soon as the money got cut, well, why am I going to waste my time? Everything is about why am I going to waste my time? Why am I going to waste my money? And people used to play just because they loved it. And now it's, when you take away the money, you really see the harmful effect of money without the community building to go behind it. And that's really kind of where we are. Keep in mind also, even if you win the Pro Series final event, you win 30 grand. If you're a 15-year-old flipping burgers, the lowest possible position at McDonald's in New York, you make more than 30 grand a year. If you don't believe me, minimum wage is $16 an hour, times 16 by 40 hour a week, times that by 4 weeks in a month, times that number by 12 months in a year, you get a little more than 30 grand, period. And by the way, you'll actually make a lot more because in winning this 30 grand, unless you have your own LLC and you can write off enough to really pay little to no taxes on that money, a lot more in tax is going to come out of that. So, and most of our players don't even understand how that works. So more than likely, it's not for the money, period. I understand you have to work for a year, but that money is guaranteed. People put a whole year of work into this game and can walk away with nothing. Not even 30,000, not even 1,000. So that's why a lot of people will take that job at McDonald's when they need to survive over being a tournament player. The passion has to be there for the game. It must be in a place of passion, not because I can win some money. Because you can always get money somewhere else and make it more reliably. But passion doesn't get replaced, and you don't look elsewhere when you have it. So he goes on to say, another part is our community has almost as many events as active members. There's less focus on one of a few places, hence more of a scattered feel. Okay, this is really true. There's like an event every few hours, man. Some type of tournament, whether it be small or big, there's something, multiple days a week. You heard Dragon talk about in a tweet, hey, there are some events I would have loved to have entered, I just didn't know. It's impossible to promote a million different events all at the same time. Plus, while they're all going on back to back to back or some at the same time, players get split up. Some players join here, some players join there. And guess what else? The watching audience gets split up. Some watch here, some watch there, some watch there. Community is divided in every sense of the way, even into its own tournament scene. When there are less events, they can be promoted more. People look forward to them more, and everyone enters one event here, next event there, as opposed to everything being so scattered. And that's a huge problem with our tournament scene. I would love to see that change. Only time will tell, if we can. But all this requires all of us to come together on stuff in general. So, it really takes work to get this stuff to happen. He says, we will see. I am hopeful and still grinding to bring folks together. Trying to pull an offline off again, meaning do an offline event. But I just turned things around, so we'll see. Offlines are expensive. Very true. Try to host one if you don't believe me. Now, the real thing about an offline, the problem is, if you're going to host an offline event, they're so expensive to pull off properly that you're more likely going to cater to every other scene, more so than the MK audience, because you're going to get the least amount of offline support from Mortal Kombat community, and that all that money you spent, you're going to look to the other scenes to recoup it more so than MK. It's just, an offline Mortal Kombat tournament is just a real bad investment to do right now, unless you can really take it on. Says, I plan on building out Coliseum more in 2024, as well as with online events. That is just to give us something to do between offlines. I know online isn't the move, but the root of our issues are far deeper. We need to learn to have fun with, again, in my opinion, and start there. P.S. Please see this as a hobby first, and don't bet your life on it. And again, that goes back to, hey, you know what? If you're doing this just for money, you're going to come to a point in your life when you're going to be in a bad position. Keep it as a hobby. Do it for the love. Do it for the passion. Don't do it to make a profit, because you're probably not. Thing about online is, this online is so bad to hold tournaments. It's not what it used to be. Like MKX. MKX's online was still bad by modern standards, I think, or okay by modern standards. I actually think MKX's netcode is actually better, to be honest with you. On PC, it feels really, really good. This game here, the netcode is just terrible, period. And with all the DC issues now on the consoles, it's not any much better. So the online tournaments are very sketchy, just because connections are not very good. Ping is not very good in a lot of circumstances. Trying to host them in King of the Hills just adds a lot of lag and input delay to the players. And in some cases, one player has extreme rollback where another doesn't. It's just really weird how this game is online. We need a lot of help from NetherRealm. But we really do need to build like our offline. I think Street Fighter 6 had 7,000 people at the last Evo. This game, maybe it'll hit 1,000. Maybe. We haven't even hit 500 entrants combined in our 2 Pro Series events. I think if you add every MK offline tournament, you don't even have 1,000 entrants combined. That's staggering. Staggering to me. Street Fighter does that in 2 regional tournaments. And we can't do this in every tournament ever held collectively. I mean, like, offline. The real thing here is we need to get back to having fun. The community needs to get back to building itself. And that's really what I want to focus on. But really, it takes community building. You see, the real problem is, another issue, it's not a community dedicated to leveling up anymore. We have a small group of players who have their own clique, but other players are unwilling to develop their own cliques. See, you don't need to be in a clique with Sonic Fox, Dragon, Rewind. You don't need to be in that. For when you got players like Tweety and Diddle and Foxy who play anyone, anytime, as many games as you want, 100 million games, they'll do it. Gambler, any of these guys. I know Get Wrecked as well. There are tons of people who do. But people need to realize online and leveling can be the new offline. It's easier than ever to create your own clique of players and level up. The problem is people don't do that. If two people are not known, and one guy has a close set with you in Combat League, they'll just teabag hold that. If you say, hey man, we can really level up together, and then you might add a third player and a fourth and a fifth, before you know it, you have a clique of 10, 11 players, 12 players, all grinding with each other every day, long sets. And you know what will happen? Those players will become as good or better than the current top players. See, you don't need to sit in a line and cause a bottleneck where nobody wants to play each other. They only want to play the same 10 players. Do it yourself. Create your own online scene, so to speak. Grind, level up. Do it because you love it. This toxicity, this hostility that we see has got to stop. Combat League can't be about the toxicity anymore. It's got to be about the grind. It's got to be about meeting players and saying, hey, let's play. Let's level up. Let's grind. Imagine if we had 20 different cliques of players of 10, all grinding every day to level up. Can you imagine how our scene would explode? See, that's what happened in MK9. See, MK9 is not loved because of, as Aquaman said right here, and I want to reference this again. When he talks about we needed the top players, we needed their full support in a whole ass community years ago. He means the top players in a whole ass community, a whole community years ago. So MK9 is not beloved because it's this GG game. It's beloved because of the community that made it so. It's looked at so fondly because we realized then that it was about the people more so than the game. And the people made it fun. And the people made it enjoyable. And the people made you want to grind and travel and level up. Now, it's all self-serving. Every man for himself. It's no longer about the community. It's about what can I make quick, move on. And we need to remember, like Aquaman does here, it's always about the people more so than the game. Look at MK1. How could it be about the game? This game's in terrible shape. And I don't mean to say that to bag on the game, but it is. We need things to change. And we can only do so much by ourselves. But collectively, we can do a lot. And then with some help from NetherRealm, we can actually make Mortal Kombat great again. And I didn't mean whatever your political views are. I wasn't trying to steal that line. It just happens to fit. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. Let me know what you guys think. As always, stay tuned for more content.